The FIFA World Cup will be held next month in Qatar, and eyeballs across the world will be firmly fixed on the footballing extravaganza. However, in its shadow, there will be the stories of migrant workers from India who visited Qatar with the hope of a better future only to return in coffins. Mihir Vasavda of the Indian Express pursued the families of 9 Indians who died in Qatar while working on projects or in jobs linked to the World Cup to know their story. So, how many of these migrant workers died while working on various projects, and did their families receive compensation when they died?
So the laborers largely head to the Gulf, and specifically in the last 10 years, Qatar, for one simple reason. In India, if they stay back, they don't have job opportunities, and even if they have job opportunities, it's under the government scheme which promises them 100 days of labor, but for a wage that's approximately 21,000 for the entire year. Now, a lot of them, when they move to Qatar, they get paid that amount per month. So it's a big financial jump for them, which is one of the biggest attractions. For many decades, Qatar wasn't really a destination for Indian workers. The salaries there were low, the job opportunities there were less. We spoke to many human rights workers, contractors, the agents who send laborers to Qatar. And one thing they had in common, one thing that they said was after Qatar was awarded the World Cup in December 2010, the demand for laborers increased drastically. Uh, One agent we spoke to, we visited a recruitment drive in a district in Telangana. The agent there over said that almost on a weekly basis, on a regular basis, he used to get demands for laborers across sectors, be it in construction sectors or service sector industries. So we visited a recruitment drive in a district in Telangana, in the Jagtial district of Telangana, where the contractor, the agent who was sending workers to Qatar, he said that almost on a weekly or a monthly basis for the last 8-10 years, when the Qatar construction started in Qatar, he was getting requirements or demand for workers across sectors, be it in construction area or in service sector industries. Ultimately, that will be catering to all the visitors that will be flooding into Qatar next month. Because of combination of all these factors, there has been a massive spike in the number of Indian workers who have been heading to Qatar. Now, if we went through Lok Sabha records, and in that the government, the Ministry of External Affairs, has said that in the last 3 years alone, from the year 2020 until July 2022, almost 74,000 Indians have traveled to Qatar for work. These are all migrant workers because they've gone on ECR passports where immigration check is required. We set out to understand the exact number of migrant workers from India who have lost their lives in Qatar after the World Cup was awarded to the country. Now, through official figures, it was impossible almost to get an exact figure. The Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy, when we asked them for a number, they in their reply said that 40 workers from all over the world have died in the period since Qatar got the World Cup in 2010. They didn't really specify nationality-wise, although they did point us to a series of annual reports which listed out these deaths. And according to those documents, there were 16 mentions of Indian nationals who have died in Qatar. Of the 40 that the Supreme Committee mentioned, 40 of all nationalities, out of those 40, they said only 3 are work-related and the others were classified as non-work-related. When we asked them how they classified work-related and non-work-related, there was no reply. We reached out to FIFA as well, since they are one of the most important stakeholders in this project. We asked them about the details of migrant death workers, whether workers will be given compensation, and the number of workers who have died. There was no response. However, FIFA President Gianni Infantino in May 2022 had said at a conference in USA that 3 migrant workers had died. He did not reveal nationalities once again. He reached out to the Indian government and the Indian embassy in Qatar to ask if they have official figures. Now, through the Ministry of External Affairs, we got data of migrant workers who have died since 2011. Even that was the first big year when Qatar started the construction activities. In December 2020, December 2010, the country was awarded the World Cup. 2011 is the base year for us where we started looking out for data. So from 2011 to May 2022, 3,313 Indian nationals had died in Qatar. We asked specifically to the Indian embassy in Qatar through an RTI if they had data of all the workers who have been involved in World Cup related projects and whether they have died. They have said there is no such information available with them. Now, official channels, this was the response we had. So, through the human rights workers and other agencies, we tracked down families of 9 such workers who have lost their lives while working in Qatar. And we are barely scratching the surface here because the number could be a lot higher. Through the 9 stories, we kind of got an idea of the extent of this problem. Now, out of the 9 we visited, we found that all of them were men of working age. 3 of them were aged under 30 years. There were 5 of them who were under 50 years, and one was 50 plus. All of them, in their cases, they were not given any compensation by their employers. Post that their families did not receive any compensation. In most cases, the families weren't even informed directly by the employers that the worker had died. In most of these cases, the deaths were classified as either heart failure or other natural cause. And that for the families was baffling because before they left for Qatar, all these workers had to pass a physical fitness test and they were medically certified fit to work in Qatar. Families alleged that they were made to work in very tough conditions. In one case, uh, in one case involving a worker who worked on construction sites, on roads and other construction sites across Doha and Qatar, his son said that he was made to work in temperatures that touched up to 50 degrees. The conditions that were provided were not fit. He was given a small room, a 10-foot by 5-foot room, where 5 people slept every night. And just over a period of time, his health condition deteriorated before he finally died in the year 2016. And this was a common trend across most of the deaths that we analyzed, where the deaths were sudden and because of natural causes. The Supreme Committee, FIFA, or the Government of India haven't confirmed if they have analyzed the cause of these deaths, but the families say it is because of the work conditions. Rajendra Prabhu Mandaloji was 40 years when he died. He is from Muthimpet village in Telangana. He left for Qatar in the year 2016. Like most others who go from India to Qatar, his reason was lack of opportunities in India and also that he was extremely debt laden. Now, when he went to Qatar, he was promised a salary of 2,500 Qatari riyal per month, which amounted to almost 55,000 Indian rupees. But the moment he landed in Qatar, he was then offered a new contract, which promised him just 1,000 riyal, which is approximately 23,000 rupees. This practice, human rights activists said, is called a substitution of contract, where you're promised one thing before departure and a totally different thing is presented to you after you land in the country. Because of this, Rajendra Prabhu Mandaloji's wife, Sucharita, said that he started to suffer mentally a lot. He wasn't really feeling well. He had the pressure of repaying all the debt. He was working in tough conditions and his salary was half of what he had promised. It led to a situation where he couldn't handle the stress, and his wife, Sucharita, said that he died by suicide. When his co-workers reached, they found him hanging inside a room. She was then asked to pay 5 lakh by Rajendra's employers just to get his body transported back home. And it was only when the Indian embassy intervened, Sucharita said, that the body was transported and She was paid just 30,000 rupees, the outstanding wages that were left, and no other compensation. In the second case involving a construction worker named Ramesh Kaladi, who is from Velmal village in Telangana, he left for Qatar in the year 2010. This is when the country was awarded the World Cup. And when he left, Kaladi was homeless, he was jobless, unemployed in India. He didn't have any prospects. And his dream was to build a house for his family. He had three sons and a wife back then. He went there, he started saving. In the year 2015, he called his middle son Shravan with him in Qatar and got him employed in the same company. Uh, Shravan described that the work conditions that Ramesh was given, they were far from suitable. Uh, he didn't have a decent place to stay. It wasn't sanitary. The food was very average. He was made to work in temperatures that touched up to 50 degrees Celsius. And the nature of his job was basically to drive a pickup truck and provide materials for constructions to all the sites across Qatar. Shravan said that one of the sites that his father worked on was a road that led to the stadium in Al Rayyan. Uh, over a period of year, Sean said he saw his father's health deteriorate. Now, must be highlighted that Ramesh, before he left for Qatar, like all Indian workers, was certified fit to work. But Shravan said that he developed health issues because of working in drastic conditions. And ultimately, one day in August 2016, just after his shift ended, Ramesh reached his apartment, collapsed, and died. In this case as well, the family received whatever outstanding wages that were due, along with the dead body that was sent back home by the employers. There was no compensation and no insurance. The third and fourth cases are of two Indian workers, Surakanti Jagan and Akhilesh Kumar, both who were employed at the same work site in Lusail area just outside Doha. They were working at the Lusail Marina, which is barely 6 kilometers away from the stadium that will host the final on December 18, 2022. Uh, their families, Akhilesh Kumar is from the Siwan district in Bihar. Surukanti Jagan is from Telangana. Their families received a call from both these guys on the morning of their death. Their death took place in 2021, in October 2021, and just before they went on their shift, both these guys called their families, spoke to them, asked on their well-being, and promised to call them back later in the day. However, they never received the call. Just moments into their shift, they were fixing a pipe underground and they were deep into a hole when the earth caved in and they got buried under the debris. Both these families received the information not from the employers but from the villagers or acquaintances who are in Qatar. And in the case of Akhilesh Kumar, they got to know from an acquaintance from Bihar who is working in Qatar, and it was a similar situation with Surukanti Jagan. Uh, None of them have received compensation, and they are fighting a case jointly along with activists and lawyers in Qatar to get some kind of financial remuneration from their employers. The next case involves a heavy vehicle driver named Abdul Majid. Now, before he moved to Qatar, Abdul Majid worked in the Gulf. He worked in Saudi Arabia and in the UAE. But in the year 2014, he received a better offer financially from a company in Qatar and he decided to move there. Abdul Majid basically drove a bus and he ferried workers from their accommodation sites to the World Cup construction sites. His son, Ashik, said that Abdul did not have any underlying health issues except for high sugar level. Hence, to the family, it came as a surprise when one day they got a call from the supervisor at his accommodation site informing that Abdul had died of natural causes. Once again, there was no compensation except a couple of months of outstanding wages that were due. The family is still waiting for an explanation for the sudden death of Abdul. Then we have Hardaljit Singh. who left for Qatar in the year 2014. He's from Kapurthala in Punjab. Hardaljit's father had died in a road accident when he was still very young. He had a mother and a younger brother who lived in Kapurthala, and they had no source of income. He left again, like Abdul Majid. He was a heavy vehicle driver and used to ferry workers from their accommodation sites to the construction sites. Uh, Hardaljit was returning from work one evening to his accommodation. This was in the year 2015 when he met with an accident and died. Like most of the cases, there was no compensation offered, and the family, even after 7 years of the death, is still fighting for compensation, is still fighting for some kind of financial support from the employers. The next is the case of Madhu Bolapalli. Now, like most others, he received a job offer from Qatar in the year 2013, and he decided to go there because there were lack of opportunities in Telangana, and his employers in Qatar offered a salary that he wouldn't get anywhere in India. He worked as a cleaner for a contracting company in Doha, and when he left in the year 2013, that was the last time his family, his wife and his son, they saw him. His son was 13 years old back then. It was only 6 years later, in the year 2019, that they got a call from his employers that Madhu had died of natural causes. There was no mention of compensation. There was no reason given for the death apart from just plain simple natural causes. Family is still waiting for explanation, and they're also deep in financial trouble now. The wife works as a beedi roller, and the son works as a laborer at a village in Telangana. A 25-year-old delivery agent named Padam Shekhar. Now, Padam, before he left for Qatar, did not have any job in India. This was the first time he got employed formally. His family said Padam left for Qatar in April 2022. He was asked for a probation period of 3 months by a delivery company called Talabat. According to the official statements released by the company, Talabat is the sponsor of Qatari Football Federation and also the sponsor of Qatari national team for the World Cup. Their brand ambassador is Portuguese superstar Cristiano Ronaldo. Padam's family said that he was on duty completing a delivery when he met with an accident on August 27th, 2022. A week later, on September 6th, he was pronounced dead due to multiple injuries. The family did not receive any compensation and are seeking some kind of financial relief from the employers. The final case is of a cleaner who died at the age of 40 at a very posh waterfront club in the West Bay region of Doha. His name is China Radha Ramoji. Uh, like most other cases, he went there because he was in huge debts. He didn't have any opportunities in India. And after going there, he worked long hours, the family said. His brother Purushottam, he claimed that during the COVID period, the work hours were reduced and hence the compensation had reduced. So to make up for the lost time and money, he started working overtime. And one day, while waiting for his transport back to the accommodation after shift, uh, China Redda Ramoji just collapsed and died without any notice. The family did receive an insurance payout. However, they have not received any compensation from the employers.